My best friend tried to attack and unalive me because he has feelings for my girlfriend of 5 years. This is just a vent post, but any advice would be appreciated. Hello everyone, I'm 27 million, and Mark, 26 million, has been my best friend since we were 16. We bonded over wanting the same career path. After years of struggling and tons of rejection, my career finally took off this past year, while Mark's hasn't. I've spent so much time trying to help him, encouraging him, and even sharing opportunities. We even lived together as roommates from ages 20 to 23 and shared everything. But about 6 months ago, his attitude toward me changed. He started making me the butt of his jokes, saying belittling and demeaning things. I'm, or was, a happy-go-lucky guy, so I brushed it off, thinking he was just a little jealous and going through a hard time. I understood his situation. It's a harsh environment to work in, with tons of rejection, and seeing your friends suddenly achieve the success you've always dreamed of can't be easy. Then there's my ex-girlfriend, Emily, 26F. I thought we had the perfect relationship. 5.5 years together, good communication, a great sex life. She stood by me through all the rough years of trying to get ahead in this career. I'm also a big oversharer and love talking to her about everything. We had no secrets and were very honest. Or so I thought. I always made an effort to keep the relationship fresh and fun. Date nights once or twice a week, surprising her with gifts, planning trips, trying new things together like cooking classes and dance classes. I loved sharing experiences with her, indulging in her hobbies, and making sure she knew she was my number one person. I thought I felt the same from her. Even as my career took off, I made sure not to prioritize her any less or neglect my friends. I need a good work-life balance to feel happy. Last week, we were all at our friend's house, Tom and Katie, 27M and 27F, who recently bought the place. We were sitting in their yard drinking, along with Bill, 26M, and Jane, 27F. We've been a friend group for 7 years. We were all drinking, and Mark got drunk pretty quickly. All night, he was taking jabs at me, saying snide things. After 6 months of this, I'd had enough and called him out. It ended in an argument, and I ended up saying what I thought was the truth, that this all stemmed from his jealousy of my recent success. I told him it wasn't my fault he didn't have the talent to make it, and mentioned all the things I'd tried to do to help him get opportunities too. That's when he attacked me. We shoved each other a bit, but he managed to knock me down, kicked me in the ribs a couple of times, and then tried to stomp on my head. Luckily, he didn't hit me full force. I felt the sole of his foot hit my cheek and slip off, but it was hard enough that my face is still swollen. He tried to stomp again, but I moved, and his foot landed inches from my face. He could have broken my skull or worse, killed me, if he'd landed on my head. The other guys got in between us, and I stood up, yelling at him, asking if he was crazy. He seemed to be walking off, but then he picked up a wooden plank. Tom and Katie were redoing their fence and building a shed in the garden. He lunged at me again and swung the plank toward my head. I ducked and put my hand up, so he hit my elbow pretty hard. Again, he could have killed me. Twice in a matter of seconds, he nearly ended my life. He almost hit Jane with the swing too. All hell broke loose. Tom and Bill jumped him and beat him up pretty bad. They were just seeing red after what happened. The girls managed to pull them off Mark, and they kind of realized what they'd done. It was emotional chaos at that point, and we were all in shock. Mark sat up, and Emily sat with him. There was a lot of blood on his face, but he didn't lose consciousness. Katie ended up driving Mark to the hospital and got back in the morning. Mark had a broken nose and a slight concussion, and she dropped him off at his parents' place. She said Mark didn't really talk to her, explain himself, or even apologize. None of us really slept that night, and honestly, after that, things are a bit blurry to me. Probably a mix of alcohol, shock, adrenaline, and the fact that it was the worst night of my life. But it just got worse. You might have noticed I haven't mentioned Emily for a while. We were all sitting around, and Tom said something like, "Mark deserved worse than a broken nose for trying to kill you twice and almost hurting Jane." Then Emily, who had been quiet, suddenly snapped and defended Mark, saying he didn't deserve any of this and that he'd just been having a hard time. Tom and Emily almost ended up in a screaming match before Emily stormed off. I followed her, thinking, okay, we're all in shock and sleep-deprived, and planned to comfort her. I found her in the guest room crying. I told her I understood, that we were all in shock, and maybe we should just try to get some sleep. She didn't even look at me. Suddenly, I realized Mark and Emily had been sitting next to each other the previous evening. Not the first time. When Mark was screaming at me, Emily was by his side, tugging at his arm, pleading with him to take a walk with her and calm down. Not me. Mark. After Mark kicked me, stomped on me, and swung a plank at me, her attention was still on calming him down while I lay there in pain. She didn't check on me. When the guys were beating Mark, she was screaming hysterically, trying to pull them off him. I don't even remember her asking me once if I was okay all night. So I asked her, "Are you cheating on me with Mark?" She just started crying hysterically, repeating that she never intended for it to go this far. I got my answer, and I just lost it. I started yelling at her, demanding to know what was going on and how she could do this. The others came in, and the guys took me to another room to try to calm me down. Jane and Katie ended up driving Emily to her parents' place, and Jane stayed with her. Apparently, they were worried about her. The entire car ride, Emily cried so much she couldn't speak. When they got to her parents', Jane and Emily's dad had to help her up the stairs and into bed because she could barely stand. She was still hysterical, and the only thing she managed to say, or scream according to them, was that she had ruined everything. Jane stayed because her parents were worried sick and had never seen her like this. Jane and Katie told them what had happened with Mark and me, and it seemed to stem from Mark and Emily's affair. 5 days passed. I was in so much physical and emotional pain, angry, confused, and broken. My elbow was fractured. I had a couple of bruised ribs, and the right side of my face was still swollen. The night played on repeat in my head. I sent Emily some texts asking for an explanation, but she didn't answer. Then, this morning, I got a call from my former mother-in-law. Emily's parents are amazing people. They've always been so kind to me and helped me through a lot over the years. She was very apologetic for her daughter and understanding of my pain. Then she said Emily wanted to see me and talk, and asked if I could come over. I agreed. When I arrived, they said they would wait outside in their car to give us space, but they didn't want to leave the premises because of Emily's state. I walked in, and when I saw Emily, it was a roller coaster of emotions, anger, bitterness, and then, surprisingly, pity. I even felt the urge to hug her. She looked awful, like a mental patient. Like she hadn't eaten, showered, or slept since that night. I felt so bad seeing her like that, and had to restrain myself from running over and taking her in my arms. I just sat down facing her. She said I could ask her anything, and she would be honest. She kept repeating how sorry she was, and that she had ruined everyone's life. I'm not going to go into too many details because this is already long enough, but here's the gist. A year ago, Mark confessed his love for Emily and had been very persistent since then. She said she made it clear it wasn't mutual. I asked why she didn't come to me, and she said she didn't want to ruin our friendship and wanted to fix things herself. Over the last few months, Mark had become more aggressive, asking her to leave me for him. I asked if anything had happened, and she admitted they kissed twice, both times initiated by Mark, but she stopped it. They also once cuddled during a movie, and Mark tried to initiate sex, but she left and set clear boundaries. I asked why she kept seeing him alone if he was constantly trying to kiss her and get her into bed. She said he always promised he wouldn't do it again. I asked why she didn't cut contact, why she kept answering his DMs, kept meeting him, and essentially gave him false hope. Did she like his attention? Then she said the strangest thing. She felt bad for him. She felt sorry for him, protective of him, like she was his big sister. What the actual fuck? She claimed she needed to help him get over her and even set him up on a date with a friend, which he sabotaged by being a jerk to the girl. I asked her if she was stupid. If she was telling the truth, she did nothing but keep his hope and crush for her alive by giving him all her time. She started crying and doubled down on having a sister-brother relationship with him, saying she wanted to fix everything and that he was just having a hard time. She wanted to help him get back on his feet, but he kept getting more persistent and started talking about me in a bad way, saying I didn't deserve her. She said she regrets everything, that she was just stupid and had ruined everything, and that she dealt with it in the worst way possible, but in good faith, not realizing she was making things worse. Then I asked her if she had any contact with him since that night. She took an awkward pause before breaking down and saying yes. That destroyed me, completely ruined me. This man, for over a year, tried to get with her, tried to kill me, and I waited 5 days for her to answer me, only for her mother to call me on her behalf. Meanwhile, she was texting him. I couldn't answer. I just felt like hurting her, not physically, but emotionally. so I decided to get up and leave. She pleaded with me, offered to show me the texts, saying she just checked if he was okay, and then told him it was over and to stop contacting her. But for me, she had made her choice. I was in the worst pain of my life these last 5 days because of them, and she still chose to talk to him while I was on my own. I walked out, with her following me, pleading. I'm not proud of this, but her mum and dad got out of the car and asked if everything was all right. I just lost it. I yelled that their selfish daughter had ruined my life, how she could choose the man who tried to stomp on my face over me. I was so angry I couldn't even drive, so I just started walking away. I don't know how long I walked, but my ex-father-in-law drove next to me and told me to get in. I did, expecting him to yell at me or tell me off, but bless his heart, he just drove me home. We didn't talk the whole way, but when he stopped outside my place, he put his hand on my shoulder. I couldn't even look him in the face after what I said to them. Emily did text me screenshots of their texts, which seemed to prove what she said, that she only checked if he was okay, and then told him she couldn't keep him in her life, that she would never forgive him for attacking me. She also sent more screenshots of their previous chats, mostly of her telling him to stop, that she didn't have feelings for him, and rejecting his advances. But since they've been talking for over a year, I guess she could cherry-pick parts of the conversations that look in her favor and leave out the rest. I haven't responded yet, and I don't think I ever will. I'll block her, but for some reason, I just can't yet. Now I'm here, just getting this all out of me. I feel so betrayed, angry, and horrible. I want to hurt Emily and Mark so badly, not in a violent way, but emotionally. I want to make them feel the pain I'm feeling. I know that's not healthy, so I hope writing this out, even if no one reads it, will help me start to process what the hell has happened. How my life went from feeling perfect to feeling like I'll never feel good again. I feel like this pain will never go away. How on earth can someone heal from this? I feel like I've lost everything. The people I used to love with all my heart. I feel nothing but hatred for now. Emily said she didn't cheat because they didn't have sex, which I doubt because I'm not stupid. Even if they didn't have sex, she still betrayed me on so many levels, as did Mark. I don't think I'll ever forgive them. I don't feel like I'll ever get to a place where I'd even consider trying to. So, to anyone who has ever been through a betrayal like this, from a partner, a friend, or both, what's my next step? How do I begin the process of stopping thinking about this and start trying to live my life again? Hello everyone. To keep this video going, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and helps us continue bringing you great stories. So, if you enjoy our content, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support makes a huge difference. Alright, let's keep going. Update. I haven't felt the need to update until now because I kind of need advice again, or just reassurance on what to do. So many have asked for an update on the whole situation, so I'll try, but going into too many details will make this far too long. The situation I need advice on is in the bottom paragraphs. Sorry this is so long again. I didn't mean for it to be, but when I started writing, I just felt the need to get everything on my mind out. Mark. Everybody told me to press charges. I don't know. Maybe many of you are Americans with too much belief in a justice system or have watched too many TV shows about lawyers. It doesn't work that way, at least not in my country. I talked to 2 lawyers, and the outcome was this. I could press charges, but Mark going to jail is highly unlikely. The most likely outcome is that he'd have to pay for the trial and pay me a settlement. It might be a large fee, or it could be a small fee because I wasn't seriously hurt and there's no long-lasting damage. My friends could testify to the severity of his assault, but the judge will most likely rule based on the damage that was done. He might get probation, but not jail. So yeah, I could maybe ruin him financially, but then he could press charges against Tom and Bill. There's a bigger possibility they'd end up worse from that case than Mark would from mine, as they did break his nose and give him a concussion. With a decent lawyer, Mark could make it out as having lasting physical effects from it. This could become months, up to years of dealing with this, and I just want it over with. His reputation has suffered. He lost some friends. Some said they'd stay neutral. His older brother told me that he and their parents have expressed their disappointment in him, but aren't disowning him. His younger sister, though, took it really hard. She used to joke that she considered me her older brother, at Mark's expense, of course. Light-hearted jokes, not cruel. She also looked up to Emily, so she took it hard and has refused to talk to Mark. He did send me a long apology letter, but not once did he mention Emily. just his behavior toward me and the assault. It was sincere, but not heartfelt. He owned up to a lot of things, but blamed others on his mental health. I haven't responded and won't. Jane and Katie. Some of you, after I commented, suggested that Jane and Katie might know more than they let on, that Mark might have been abusive to Emily, or that they were sticking by her. So I kind of played dumb, talking about how I couldn't believe I didn't see the signs and asking if they saw any. Yes, they knew about Mark kissing Emily, but they claimed they didn't know the extent of it, just that Mark and Emily were spending time together, and Emily told them he kissed her but had dealt with it. I didn't really believe that was the only thing they knew, as Jane got very defensive when I confronted her more about it. That had a domino effect. Tom got mad at her for keeping it a secret and wondered what else she wasn't telling him. In his mind, if she could keep a secret like that, what else could she keep secret? So it's caused some strain in their relationship. I'm staying out of it, but told Tom not to get angry at her on my behalf. Katie did come to my home and asked to talk. She said she genuinely didn't know. She just kind of walked in on the kissing conversation, and Jane and Emily downplayed it. Later, when asking Jane, she told Katie that Emily had dealt with it. She swore she took it as if Emily had told me and had no idea other than that what was going on. I do believe Katie. She seemed very genuine and apologetic, unlike Jane. I don't hate Jane or resent her, but I'm disappointed and frustrated. So I've kind of been low contact, no contact, LCNC with her these last weeks, as I just feel no interest in being around her. This has slightly affected my friendship with Tom, as I've been hanging out with other people instead. Emily. Where to begin? Many of you said to go no contact, but I know myself, it would have driven me insane not being able to get everything off my chest and find some sort of conclusion to what the hell happened. One person messaged me saying they were raised to face their problems in person, and that resonated with me more than going NC, though I planned to do that after meeting her again. I also had to apologize to her parents and get my car, as it was still at their place. So, 4 days after that incident, I called them, asked if I could come by to talk to them, and if they'd let me speak with Emily again. They were actually relieved. Part of me thinks they thought I was planning to forgive her or something. I went there, we talked, and I apologized. They said they were disappointed and shocked at me yelling those hurtful things, but understood that I was going through a lot of emotions and was in a bad place. Then we hugged, and they went outside again. I went into the living room where Emily waited for me. She walked toward me with the saddest face I've ever seen and asked for a hug, but I said no and asked her to sit down to talk. I asked her to tell me everything again and asked if Mark was in any way abusive, as Jane and Katie had implied. She gave me the same version as last time, but with some additions. She said she didn't fully realize at the time. She just felt like this situation was her responsibility to fix, but the reason she couldn't do it or come clean was Mark. He threatened her, saying he'd tell me himself that they kissed, that they were in love, that she was cheating on me. When she tried to cut communication with him, he said these things, that she'd ruin our relationship and the friendship between me and him, that I'd believe him and not her. So she felt trapped, like she had to deal with this on her own. I asked if he was physically abusive. She kind of hesitated and said, "Not really, but on 2 occasions he did hurt her. Not badly, but to the point of pain. One time, at an event we were all at together, he got her alone, asked her if she really didn't love him. She said no, and told him not to do this there, then tried to walk away. But he grabbed her wrists and wouldn't let go, dragging her closer to him and hurting her wrists. I remember that night. Emily went quiet and distracted halfway through, but she told me she was just tired. The second time was similar, but they were alone, and he grabbed her bicep and squeezed, leaving bruises. I don't remember seeing any bruises on her though. Maybe she hid them. I also asked if it really wasn't sexual, given that his intentions were obvious, and why she kept putting herself in that position. She just said she didn't know, that she was being stupid, but they never had sex. I asked why he had so much power over her that, for a year, she couldn't find the strength to just tell me, why she believed I'd trust his words over hers. Again, she said she didn't know, that she just kept making mistakes. I asked why she ignored me after Mark attacked me, but not him. She just started crying and kept saying she didn't know why. She just thought our relationship was stronger than that, and we'd bounce back, and she was worried about what Mark would do. I told her that was the reason it hurt me the most. She was too busy worrying about him and not about me. To me, it felt like she chose him. She said she didn't choose him, but I stood firm on that. It felt like she did. Then I explained how much she and Mark had hurt me, that all the trust was gone, and we were done. I said I'd go no contact with them. She asked if there was a point in the future where we could be in each other's lives again, and I said no. But it's eating me away because there are so many things I doubt in her story. So, I reached out to Sarah, 27F, Emily's best friend, and told her I was destroyed and felt like nobody around me was telling the truth. I begged her to just be honest. To my surprise, she answered. It turns out she knew a lot, but Emily had kept her out of the loop with many things. Sarah knew about Mark and told Emily to stop talking to him and to tell me about his behavior. She knew about them kissing and that Emily regretted it and was the one who stopped it from going further. Sarah told me that, to begin with, Emily felt validated. She used to like the dynamic in our relationship where I needed her support when my career was struggling and full of rejections. Not like I was constantly crying on her shoulder or relying on her money, but on many occasions, she was my support system, the one who took it upon herself to cheer me up, hug me, cuddle me, motivate me, and make me believe in myself to keep going. When my career took off, she felt that dynamic missing. But then Mark was in the position I used to be in, and she could give her support to him and feel that validation again. I was just baffled. Sarah said she was too when Emily told her. I asked if Emily felt validated by the sexual attraction from Mark. Sarah said Emily never really talked about that, but as a girl herself, and knowing Emily for 20 years, she suspected that was part of it too. Then I asked, as I've been fearing I might have been delusional about being a good boyfriend, if Emily ever talked badly about me. Maybe I did something to drive her into Mark's arms. Sarah said not really, that Emily always sounded very much in love and talked about how happy she was, how I made her feel special, to the point Sarah was almost jealous on a few occasions. Emily did call me overbearing, clingy, and said I would sometimes shut down and be selfish, but never anything worse than that. Since then, I kind of think Sarah has been flirting with me. She texts me every day. At first, just things like how my day was, or how I was feeling, then memes that are kind of sexual, but I have no interest in anything with her, so I guess I'll have to shut that down. I don't want her thinking I'm leading her on. So, I'm just trying to come to terms with all of this, trying to move on. Then, about 8 to 9 days ago, I got a text from Emily. I blocked her on all apps and social media. We always communicated with those, but rarely with our phone numbers, so it genuinely slipped my mind. Or maybe I subconsciously didn't block her number. The text just said, "How have you been?" Followed by her saying she smiled and laughed again for the first time because of me. She sent a photo of me on her TV and said how proud she is of me and how she looks forward to seeing my career progress. I work in the entertainment industry. My big break early last year was a job behind the scenes, which progressed to me getting in front of the camera. I'm by no means famous. It's just a little show, although it's growing in audience and popularity since we began. It's not on the main channel or anything. I made the mistake of responding, and we chatted for 2 days. Not about us, but about some political issues in the country. I kept my distance. If she texted, I just waited until I was in the mood to answer or finished what I was doing first. Then she asked if I could find it in my heart to let her into my life again, even if only in a small way in the future. I said I needed more time, but that it was unlikely. I told her I couldn't keep doing this for my mental health, said goodbye, and blocked her again. I thought this was over, but then last Friday night, around midnight, I got a knock on my door, and lo and behold, there stood Emily, soaking wet in the rain, like some freaking scene in a movie. I asked what the hell she was doing here. She said she was out drinking and wanted to see me, but got cold feet as soon as she left the taxi. She stood by the road for 10 minutes, but was too cold to wait for another taxi, so she came to my place. I let her in, gave her some old sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a hoodie of mine, and gave her a bag to put her wet clothes in. The story is, her girlfriends peer-pressured her to go on a girls' night out, but she didn't feel ready. She went anyway. They were drinking, and she got her favorite cocktail, the one we used to have together. We had this thing where we would message each other all night with funny things that happened, inside jokes about situations, or just send pics of our drinks. The fancier, the better. We were that annoying couple, always on our phones talking when separated. She instinctively reached for her phone to send me a pic, but then realized she could never do that again, and felt a wave of sadness. She drank some more, and after telling her friends she didn't want to meet or talk to men, they invited some guys over. One of them was told Emily was single, and he started flirting and trying to get her attention. Her friends kept creating situations, leaving them alone together, and she had enough. She also told me the guy was boring, uninteresting, pathetic, and ugly. Emily rarely talks like this about people, which brings me to this point. I know sober Emily, tipsy drunk Emily, and drunk Emily. She seemed to be in the tipsy drunk state, but usually she's very giggly and bubbly. This time, she was completely cold and distant, never looked me in the eye. It was a stark contrast to the last time I met her, where she looked at me with such sorrow and regret. She even almost talked in a monotone. I've never seen this Emily before. It was like she was a different person. I was tired and so weirded out. My mind went kind of blank. She just sat there, not saying a word. I went on the taxi app and ordered her another taxi, but after 15 minutes, the app said it was still searching for a driver. So, I thought, screw this, and offered to drive her home. I didn't think her staying over was a good idea and suspected that was her agenda. I was calling her bluff, but she just got her things and went to my car without any protest or saying anything in general. In the car, the mood was still so weird. She asked to choose the music, and I said yes. She asked to hold my hand while we drove for one last time. Stupid me said yes. Then she just sat there, looking out the window, never looking at me. This attitude kind of disarmed me. My mind was blank, but in a lame attempt to lighten the mood, I joked about driving her back to her friends and maybe missing her pathetic guy. She just shrugged and said she was done with men forever. All they did was abuse her trust, manipulate her emotions and goodwill, and put her in lose-lose situations. I don't know if that was a stab at me, Mark, or both. I asked her why she said that, and she shrugged again and said, "Seriously?" She also told me Mark sent her a letter asking her to move with him to another country, but she threw it out. Then we just drove in silence. When we approached her parents' home, I felt her squeeze my hand like she didn't want to let go. When I stopped the car, she said nothing, just got out, not even looking at me, and went inside. When I got back home, I, of course, found her underwear in my bathroom, not in the laundry basket, but in a place beside it where clothes often fall. My common sense says, of course, she left them on purpose. She knows that's where clothes sometimes fall, but they do fall there naturally. So of course, another thing for me to overthink and doubt about. Now I've got her underwear, and she's got my clothes. So a reason to see each other again. Anyway, I was just so confused and a little scared for Emily in this state. I've even been thinking if she was on drugs that night. She was that unlike herself. I'm debating if I should ask Sarah about it, but I shouldn't put her in that position and pull a Mark on her. I'm also naive enough that I unblocked Emily on everything because I genuinely thought she'd reach out with an apology for showing up drunk at my place. The old Emily would have. I also noticed she changed her Instagram a lot, removed her bio, deleted almost every picture she had. She used to have this cute and quirky feed, but now she only has 2 old pics of herself. She deleted all pictures with other people and all pictures of me, except one of us together from a holiday 2 years ago, a trip we both declared as the most fun time of our lives. I felt like I was making tiny progress, but now I can't stop thinking about her again. The truth is, I really miss Emily so much. She really is a one-of-a-kind person. I've always realized how lucky I was to have her in my life, and as much as I've hated her and resented her this past month, seeing her on Friday and remembering how she cried at her parents' place, I hate seeing her like this. It made me feel good, or content, thinking about her hurting from her decisions and destroying her life with Mark. I felt like she deserved it for making me hurt so much. Now though, I feel some resentment, but I mostly just worry and fear for her. I admit, when she squeezed my hand in the car, I got a tingle of butterflies in my stomach thinking about it and our time together. Then I feel worried. I don't want her to self-destruct or feel bad or guilty for the rest of her life. We're only human. We make mistakes. I'm inclined to believe that Mark was abusive, which makes me actually want to press charges to punish him for what he did to Emily. She felt stuck dealing with this herself because of his threats and fear of losing everything. But then again, she did console him and not me when things came to a head. I keep going in circles. I feel like her visit on Friday was a little manipulative. Her showing up soaking wet, leaving her underwear, acting so weird. But then, for a few minutes, I feel like not caring about that and just wanting her in my life as a partner again. So, I'm thinking in circles, go no contact and try to be strong. Reach out to her for an honest, all-on-the-table talk. Maybe try to work on things and see if we can move forward, or just be the bigger man and meet her to end things in a way that relieves her of her guilt. Maybe she won't beat herself down about this or regret her whole life, even if it means me lying or downplaying something so I don't have to worry about her anymore. As you can see, fellow Redditors, I'm so very confused and clueless right now. I'm hoping, like last time, someone will come along with advice that helps me see the right way forward.